Hello, Brian Holley here with Darcourt Management Group. We're here today with Ben Mandlestein. As most of you know, Ben is the co-sponsor of our Village Condos property in Waco, Texas, which we've now had for right at 2 months, just since March 1st. What we wanted to do today was invite Ben to come and give you an update. Every month you're going to receive an update from Darcourt Management, from DGRE, on the progress of Village Condos. And as part of that, we wanted to take this first opportunity not only to let you see Ben in person, but to also give you a video update on what's going on in the property since we've acquired it on March 1st. So the first thing we're going to talk about, Ben, is everybody knows that the name of the property was Village Condominiums. The HOA went away, and there are no condos anymore at that property. So we certainly want to do away with that name. We also did some research and found out that Village Condominiums really did not have a great reputation out on Google reviews. So anyway, worked with Ben and involved his wife Katie, and have come up with a rebranding package for the property. So let's talk about that first, if you don't mind, Ben, and let everybody know what we're going to rebrand the property as.
Absolutely, thanks, Brian. And to your point, that was something some of you investors had asked me when we were looking at the property. You guys saw some of the reviews and wanted to know that management would be changing. So for new tenants, the same experience, wanted to have that fresh brand and have good reviews, have that good presence. So but a lot of thought went into it, talked with my wife, talked with some other investors, and tried to collect different ideas. We really like the name The Brazos. I think it has a good ring to it. It's right near the Brazos River. I think as more people are attracted to Waco with Baylor winning the national championship, those people are going to like the fact that the Brazos is the river right there, it's a Texas element. Thought it had a good ring to it, and we're currently working on new signage that we can put up, and will give the property a fresh new feel. Excellent.
Well, kind of give me just an idea, Ben. This is really we're now 2 months into your first property as a co-sponsor. So just kind of give everybody kind of an idea of how you think things are going, and any surprises or anything scary, anything good, just kind of your eye on how you think it's going.
Yeah, I'd say the first surprise was how quick the roofers were. When I showed up to meet Brian at the property, he told me the roofers were going to be there, and man, I don't know, there's probably 15, 20 guys up on the roof.
Absolutely.
And it was amazing. I've seen many other roofers work. I've never seen people work so efficiently. So that was awesome, a great way to start and make a good progress right up front. Overall, the property is really clean, especially after getting the landscaping cleaned up.
Right.
You know, we've got last couple touches we're going to finish up. But overall, I think things are going really well. I think it's been awesome that we've been able to lease over our pro forma on the 3 leases that we've had so far. That's been great. I think it really shows that we were being very conservative with everything that we put together.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And let's talk. That's kind of a good segue. There are some things that happen immediately when you take over a property. One of the first priorities we want to do is to make sure that our exterior capex, that's what we call our curb appeal. It's what's going to drive people to the property. It's what's going to make them feel good about driving into the parking lot or as they drive by the property, and so to speak. Ben's already mentioned that we're going to rebrand the property with a new signing package. That has not happened yet, but we've approved the name, we've approved the signing package, so we just need to now get it manufactured and get it installed. But the very first thing that happened that Ben mentioned is part of the CapEx was to do a total replacement on the roof. What we found out was during due diligence, and this is why due diligence is so important, is that the roof was really not in terrible shape, but what had happened was when they put it in about 6 or 7 years ago, they did not put enough venting into the complex. So what happens is Texas heat, we all know how that is, and it was literally cooking the shingles. And what happens is that stuff literally cooks the shingles, and the tar or the asphalt literally liquefies, and then it rains a little bit, and a lot of your shingle, the granules, start running off. And you can tell when you drive by a property, you can see if it's shining, you can tell that it's losing. But we made the decision early on, and as you know, we got the previous owner to pitch in for half of the cost to replace the roof, which was great. It saved us some on our CapEx, but it made a huge difference in the property, and we fixed the venting at the same time, so we're not going to have any more problems with that as we move forward. Well, we talked about the roof has been totally redone, and we'll send everybody some pictures. We've also had, as you mentioned, we've had a landscape company go through after the winter storm. as it is on every property in the state of Texas. There's a lot of dead plants that did not make it through the winter storm. So now we've gone through and cleaned all of that up so that we've gone through and trimmed all of the trees about a 30 or 40% level, thinning out the trees. Trees look much better. Obviously, we don't want them hanging over the roof anymore to protect the investment we just made on the roof. So those things have already taken place on the property. That's a really quick things we need to take care of, again, to make the property look nice. So we know that the things that have already happened on the property. Let's talk about the next steps. You want to kind of give everybody an idea of what it is that we're moving into next.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the main things me and Brian really looked at was the overall leasing experience for tenants. And for those who haven't actually been to the property, it's a beautiful, really nice property. It is a little tricky finding the current leasing office. And also Google Maps will actually send you to the back of the property, which is a very confusing experience for tenants.
Yes.
Not to also say that the access road was closed. You had to drive literally through a Schlotsky's parking lot, through a back street to go to the wrong side of the property, then to go around the block to then finally make it, which then it still wasn't super easy. So I wanted to completely change that. You know, we'll have a nice, beautiful new sign with a new name. We're actually going to create a new leasing office at perfect location, right where you would expect it to be, right when you open the gate. We'll have good parking dedicated for our future residents. And we're going to take one unit that was kind of being used as storage, and we're going to divide that. So we'll have a one-bedroom unit, and then we'll have a nice new office, and then we'll be able to repurpose the previous office with some exercise equipment. We do think that tenants will get great use out of that once they're living there, but from a leasing perspective, just much less confusing, much better curb appeal. So overall, I think really excited on that specific element. And then we've also looked at, done a lot of homework on looking at all the different comps around us, the different buildings, and trying to figure out what level we want to go to on our rehab. So while we have done some of the units that were easier to do, we wanted to get those leased right away. We wanted to be very prescriptive on how we use our CapEx budget and make sure that we were making the right choices that would ultimately lead to the rent increases that we've projected.
Yeah, and to Ben's point, we've had, some people kind of see, there's really two schools of thought here. Some people say, when I buy a property, I want it to be totally leased. And to be honest with you, that's not our recipe for success. It's nice to have it leased, but then you got to realize that you're locked into those leases. There's really nothing you can do until those leases are up for renewal. One of the nice things about it, or as you're looking at the financials for Village Condo, you say, oh my gosh, why are we only 82% occupied? One of the great things that does for us is that those units were vacant when we took over. As Ben said, we've now gone through and identified all of the different areas within each one of those units that we want to upgrade in order to either meet or beat our pro forma rent projections. So it actually is a good thing that we did have. In fact, I think we had 24 vacant units when we took over. We're down to 16 units now. But the renovation of those 16 units is now going to start taking place this week. We're going to meet the contractors on site. We've already identified the scope of work. Now it's just literally going through kind of like a restaurant menu and saying, yes, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. So that's going to be great for us to move on. The plan is going to be so that we identify 5 that can be done really quickly within a day or 2. So we'll have a whole team of contractors down there. They'll get 5 units renovated, and guess what? That's 5 units now we can give back to the leasing staff and the office staff to get our increased rents. Then they'll move on to the next 5 and the next 5 and so on. As Ben mentioned, we are going to move the office to the front of the property, which is a much more natural where it's going to be and much more visibility for our leasing staff. That's going to be kind of the tail end of our renovation project. So we'll get these 16 units done over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then we'll jump in really heavy into the office. And again, the reason we want to do that is because we've got to get inventory back to the leasing staff so that they can lease units. That's the name of the game, lease the units. So again, anything you want to add in regards to what we're doing to the units? You know, some of them we're going to put granite in, some of them we're not. Some of them we're changing the lighting package. We're certainly updating the appliances to make sure they're consistent throughout the property. We've got some, believe it or not, that are black appliances, and maybe the oven or the microwave is stainless steel, and maybe the stove is white. So we're going to make it a consistent package and a good experience for the prospective tenant. So anything you want to add in respect to that?
Yeah, I think I've just, from a co-sponsor learning perspective, it's much different than the other kind of rehab I've done on my own property. So it's been a really good learning experience, seeing kind of the methodical way Brian's working with the GC team and trying to make sure that we're going to the right level of rehab and then measuring the results we get. So really excited, and I really like the kind of data-driven methodology of figuring out what ways to use your CapEx budget.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. A couple of other just good things to talk about as it's driving income is one of the things we found out during due diligence in our lease file audits. It's that the property currently has a technology package, what it calls a technology package, and provides internet and some cable TV to the property. But we found out they were not charging the residents back. So they were, and we know why, because Ben went through and found some signs around the property that said, hey, internet and water is free. Well, obviously that's not the case. The good news is that was not part of the leases that they signed. So one of the immediate things we were able to do is go back and start charging the $60 that they were supposed to have been charged all along for that tech package. If they're in an existing lease, we can only charge the $60. For those of you who are in other DGRE properties, you know we're charging $89 for a comparable tech package. So as people sign a new lease or renew a lease, they'll get into the new tech package. But the good news is that some of that other income, and that's the reason even on our pro forma, we knew that the other income was going up.
Right.
Not so much because we knew that the demand was there, but we already knew that many of the residents that were living on site were not actually paying. For whatever reason, the previous owner and or management company was not billing that income back or those charges back. So that's all good news. But just kind of in recap, you excited about the way things are still going? And
oh yeah.
Excited. I mean, I know you've made many trips down to Waco. How do you feel about the Waco area in general?
Yeah, me and my wife spent some time at the silos, and it's crazy to see what Chip and Joanna Gaines have done of creating a tourist attraction. It felt like we were at Disney World. So you haven't been to the silos. It's only about like 0.7 miles from the property, so really close by. And then also really excited to see Baylor win the national championship. So
Amen.
I think it'll be a really good leasing season this summer, which is perfect timing as we've got the 16 units we're working on. I think a lot of applicants will be applying to Baylor after seeing Baylor win that championship. So Waco's booming. Really excited for the access road right next to our property to be back open. It's much easier to find the property, a lot more visible traffic just by people going by.
And our new rebranding package is going to help with that as well.
Absolutely.
So.
And then learning some negotiation tricks from Brian over here. It's amazing. We had a previous landscaping provider. We were able to cut $7,000 with a new provider that we're using, and they're actually doing the full job. Whereas previously, our maintenance guy was caught doing a lot of kind of work that the landscapers missed. So not only will we have better landscaping, but we're saving $7,000 a year, which is awesome. So as a co-sponsor, I'm just soaking up everything I'm learning from watching Brian. But yeah, at the end of the day, it benefits us. It benefits you guys as the investors, doing everything we can to decrease expenses and generate as much revenue as possible.
Excellent. Well, Ben, thank you for coming in today. Appreciate you. You've been a terrific co-sponsor. You're kind of the face of the property to the investors, so that's a great thing. We look forward to just continued success at Village Condominiums, and this is the last time we're going to refer to it as Village Condominiums. Henceforth, all of our updates that come out from the DGRE group, and when you see us talking about it, we're going to be referring to the Brazos. So don't get confused, but really excited about what's going on at the Brazos. Ben, thank you for being here today, and we appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks.